This week will feature the heist. It's been on the news, so if you're in the area you've most likely heard about it. As with the raid, I could make the account much briefer, but to avoid convolution I will be recounting the events in detail. First, the final meeting on Tuesday. We met at a location of Henma's specification, a different place than where we met last Saturday. I arrived earlier than anyone else along with Cole and Michael because there was no point in taking more than one car and Michael doesn't have his license anyways, to hash out the last of our logistics with them. We made some small alterations to routes and one or two timing switches as we had received some more precise information from Michael between then and the last meeting, but not much was changed. Once the mercenaries arrived, we did some re-establishing of routes, went over the usual fresh hire questions, even though we had worked with almost all of them in the past, and had Michael and Terry give everyone a tech briefing. We had communication units with a much larger range for this heist, thankfully, as I'm not interested in rescuing Michael a fourth time. The morning of the heist went smoothly. Michael, Cole, and I made it to the rendezvous point early, which is astounding, considering Michael spent 10 minutes refusing to keep a gun in his bag. He says he doesn't like having that much power in his hands, which is understandable for someone so inexperienced, but he will learn eventually. Once I gave up trying to provide a gun to him and he decided he would take a crowbar from my toolbox to hit people over the head with, we drove to the warehouse to organize our hires and their procedures. We were the first there, but Henma flew in not long after, bringing with them the helicopter we would be using to assist in our escape. Our mercenaries showed up in a bit of a flood within 5 minutes of the time we had set for the most part. A few stragglers, but I had expected much worse. We were ahead of schedule until there was a severe malfunction with Jerry's comm, and I continue to suspect it was Terry beating his brother up like a 7-year-old, however much he denies it. We were a few minutes behind schedule by the time we left by our routes, but meeting up at the second rendezvous point went smoothly, and we proceeded into the museum from there. We had specifically planned the heist to be complete before the museum opened, and we were right on target. The first half of our mercenaries spread out throughout the building to do an initial sweep, and that went fine until the alarms were set off just before my team began the determining phase of the heist. Good thing we planned to be out of there before anyone had the chance to get to us, and if that didn't end up happening, we had more firepower than would be necessary for us to get out. We extracted the painting we were after quickly, since there was no time nor purpose to finesse at that point. Getting out of the building was easy enough, as Henma flew in, this is the use of the helicopter, to take me and the painting back to the warehouse. We had some difficulty with the police on the way there, but managed to lose them with a bit of incendiary incentive, as the warehouse is in the middle of fucking nowhere. It would be unnecessarily far if we hadn't been using the distance to evade the police after stealing a painting worth multiple $1 million. Everyone arrived not long after that. Helicopters are always far slower than I thought they would be as a child, having successfully lost any tail they had gained, which wasn't much. A little battered and bruised, but no deaths on our side, which isn't all that surprising considering it was an easy heist. We all tore down and Henma took the painting to prepare it for our buyer, but everyone else milled around for a bit to congratulate each other. I tried to leave immediately as I had work to do at home, but Cole refused to go anywhere until I socialized, and Michael automatically took their side. The look on my face as I shook Jerry's hand and told him to keep it up wasn't very pleasant if the message he left on my answering machine that night was of any indication. Our buyer followed up almost immediately, and the money was fully distributed by Friday evening. Michael was infinitely awed by the number he saw when he looked at his share and decided to, against my recommendation, take us all out for sushi. I think he had long stopped listening somewhere between Cole's "we" and "can pay for ourselves." During our dinner outing Friday night, Cole and I talked Michael through what he is going to do with the money he's received. He saw some money as a result of the Onzel's raid, but I don't think he has ever seen anything close to what he is now in his life. His family has never been too well off while he's been old enough to remember it, and this sum has made him a bit unsure, I believe. He doesn't know what to do with himself, as made obvious by the beginning of our conversation at the restaurant. Eventually, he came to the conclusion that he would assist his parents in buying a house, among other possibilities. The real problem here is how he is going to tell them. As mentioned, his parents are not aware of his profession. They think he simply works with computers, probably that he's an IT worker. I do not believe he needs to tell them anything, but he would like to. He wants them to know why he suddenly has all this money, or what's happened if he has to disappear for a while, but he wants to do it without causing any heart attacks. I don't know if that's possible at this point. His parents have supported him in everything he's done so far, but I caution this might be too much. He may be required to make sacrifices, and he is not prepared for that. Nothing in the works for a while, but considering what has been happening in the background of all of this, I'm not counting on any peace. You can find me at diaryofamastermind@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.